Hey everybody, my name is Neil W. McCabe. I'm a reporter here at Human Events, and here in our Capitol Hill studios we have Miss Ann Coulter. Hey Ann, how's it going?
Hello, nice to see you.
Good to be seen. You have a great new book coming out. I may convince you to talk about it. But first, let's get some other business out of the way. Did Michelle Obama want to go home with Mitt Romney after that debate?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I think Obama knew things were going down when he saw Michelle picking out on Haagen-Dazs halfway through. That's it, I've had it.
When did you, let me just back up. I wasn't sure if what I was watching was really happening.
I know.
Because my brain, I'm like so twisted that I don't know what's good anymore.
Right.
So I went back and I reread a good friend of yours, Andrew Sullivan, and I read his live blogging, you know, because it starts at the end and then so it goes back down, and you're sort of just watching this man meltdown. You know, it's like about 7 minutes in, Andrew Sullivan's typing in like, this doesn't look very good for Obama. When did you know? Was there a clue?
No, I agree with you because the truth delivered even poorly will have more of an appeal to me than a Democrat who's fast on his feet verbally. So, wow, Romney seemed to be killing it. But like you, I didn't trust my own instincts on it. And I didn't want to interrupt by checking any blogs, but I did start getting incoming emails from my friends asking me the same thing. Is Romney killing it as much as you think? Is Obama just rambling the same old boring talking points? And once you noticed it, it just got worse and worse. And interestingly, by the way, for most of the debate, I wasn't watching it. I was listening to it because I was cooking and doing laundry and things. And I thought Romney was killing. When you watch it, it is so much worse for Obama. Yeah. So much worse. Yeah, he has very bad body language because he knew what was happening. For the first time in his life, he was facing an objective test. For the first time, everything he has done, every school he has applied to, every job he has applied for, every audience he has appeared before. Oh, he's a black man. Oh, let's applaud. A liberal black man, I should say. Conservative blacks get the reverse treatment. They're treated worse than a white person with the same views. Blacks with liberal views win the Nobel Peace Prize before they've been president for a full 2 weeks.
It's sort of like Catholics. If as long as you're willing to kill a baby, you can be on the Supreme Court, you can be the vice president, we'll make you a senator. I call them Vichy Catholics.
Yes, yes. Yes, they're quite beloved. I'm profiled in the New York Times, those Catholic nuns.
Yes.
Yeah. We're always for communism for some reason, because it's so good for the people in the Catholic Church.
Yes. Now, in the book, Mugged, you talk, basically, you know, my reading it is, it's basically a lot of truth-telling, because there's all of these sort of faux narratives that have been put out, and all of these sort of crazy little anecdotes that I thought were true. Stuff, you know, I'm reading it.
Thank you.
And I'm thinking, wow, that's kind of what I always assumed. And when liberals would bring this stuff up, I would never challenge it.
Right.
There's so many stories that you bring up that just never happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of like the faux hate crimes.
Right, right, like the nooses that keep materializing on Ivy League campuses.
Right. Now, the Brawley case is always interesting to me. You're younger than me. I don't know if you remember it when it was in the news. But I remember.
Not really, but you know, it was.
But I remember it in the news, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what a horrible thing's going on.
Yes.
And it turns out the whole thing was fake.
Yes.
But you'd have to read that on page like A30 of the New York Times.
Yes, and Brawley, more truth came out than the rest of those cases. I mean, I grew up outside of New York, so we got all the New York newspapers, and it was a Tawana Brawley case once a month, basically, especially at any time a white cop would shoot a black kid. Oh, we had the Klan on the New York City police force, and there'd be a hue and cry and front page stories and, you know, weeping stories about, you know, the father of 4 with a ready smile. Wait, he was a crack addict.
for those people who aren't like who haven't read the book yet or don't know this sort of like ancient history.
That one was Kiko Garcia.
But do the quick recap because there's the other star of your book, sort of co-star of your book, is Al Sharpton. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so in fact, in the index, you have 14 references to Sharpton.
I had forgotten how much he was involved in.
So let's do the quick recap for people who don't know the whole story.
Oh, for
Brawley was she was missing.
Oh, Brawley?
Brawley was missing for 4 days.
You think people don't know that one?
You'd be surprised.
Okay, I'd love to, because most of the stuff I think is totally new to most people. Brawley and Bernie Goetz were two stories I thought everybody would basically know, but they'd get a few more details here. Okay, so Tawana Brawley was found in a garbage can covered with feces and obscenities and the N-word written on her body, dog feces, and she seemed to be comatose, and she was brought in, and she couldn't speak, and she said that it was done to her by 4 white cops, and then like a day later, a week later, she threw in the only named person was Steve Pagones, a prosecutor, a white prosecutor.
In Dutchess County.
In Dutchess County. The country was fixated on it. If you think Trayvon Martin was big, oh, this was 100 times that. I think Bill Cosby was conned into going, and I think he gave her his Rolex watch or something, but you know, everybody believed it at first.
So there was an investigation?
Oh, more than an investigation. The state took this over. There were, the FBI was there.
Mario Cuomo?
Mario Cuomo sends a huge investigation. I think that was Robert Abrams, wasn't it?
He may have been the Attorney General then, yes.
The Attorney General. He takes over, huge investigation, no stone left unturned, and at the end, the grand jury determines that the whole thing was a hoax. They find out, for one thing, I think it was even before she got to the hospital, but at the hospital they tested her for someone pretending to be...
Well, so the rape kit turned out there was no rape.
No rape. She wasn't in a coma. She was faking unconsciousness. And years later, her boyfriend said, yeah, her mother and she had set the whole thing up because she had stayed away from home for 4 days, and her stepfather tended to get a little violent with them when Tawana stayed out too long.
And yet Sharpton, he's not just enabled. He's like he's not, like, forget being called out. Like, any one of the incidents that you talk about in the book would be enough to just banish him from public life.
Yes.
And yet...
Well, as you know, the arc of the book is, I think he was banished for a while when we briefly had peace in the liberal-created race war in America immediately after the O.J. verdict. When white America just said, that's it, we're shutting down the white guilt bank. And that was when you didn't hear so much from Sharpton for a while. You didn't hear so much from Jesse Jackson for more than a decade. Suddenly you started to see all kinds of different black people with different opinions, amazingly. They've been sitting home all that time thinking, why is Al Sharpton the spokesman for black America? Doesn't anyone want my opinion? I mean, I list some of the flowering of black intellectuals, writers, comedians. Some of them, of course, would have come along anyway, but I really do think you saw more of it post-OJ because there wasn't that tension and discomfort between the races. That
was the post-racial world we were sort of promised with Obama, but did not get.
That's what brought it back.
Right.
Exactly the reverse. We have gone back to the worst era of racial demagoguery from the 70s and 80s. And similarly, I mean, another thing you noticed after OJ, you didn't have white people walking on eggshells, afraid they'd slip and use a word like, oh, say, to take one random example with no particular reference to anything, lazy. Did you hear John Sununu said that he thought Obama was lazy in the debate the other night? And Andrea Mitchell was so shocked, she asked him if he wanted to take it back. Oh, come on, you know, look, it's one thing, no N-word. Now it's lazy, shuffling, arrogant, apartments, kitchen cabinet, playing golf. No, the list is getting to be half the dictionary. Sometimes we're just talking. But that's what it was like pre-OJ, post-OJ. When Al Sharpton ran for president, post-OJ, he couldn't even get a majority of the black vote. It was the best thing that ever happened to black people in America. They were no longer being coddled and treated like children. No, they would be held responsible both for their talents and admired for genuine talents, and they would be held responsible when they did bad things. That did not happen until OJ, which is why you could have an explosion like the LA riots doing $1 billion worth of damage and 54 dead, and you have members of Congress out on TV trying to excuse the little darlings. Meanwhile, the actually brave and seriously brave and decent black people living in LA who saved Reginald Denny's life. One, a pastor, he was a pimp who became a Christian minister, and he ran out into the middle of the LA rise to save an Hispanic man's life. His pants had been pulled down, his genitals painted, they were wailing on him, a group of blacks were, and he was about to be killed. And the black minister threw himself on the Hispanic's body and said, "You're going to have to kill me first if you're going to kill him." Saved his life. Why don't we hear their stories? Why is it the gangster rappers and the cop killers who get celebrated? Because that is liberal America.
Or the 3 passengers who went home safely that night, and their driver was
from the Rodney King.
Exactly. You talk about that in the book.
Yes, yes, that was more of the media looking for Mississippi burning, and they were just created, even though they couldn't find any more Democrat Klan members. And so the KTLA in Los Angeles edited the tape of the Rodney King beating to cut out the first 12 seconds when you see Rodney King rising up, lunging at one of the cops, which wouldn't have given you the full context of the prior hour of trying to subdue him and chasing him. But it would have given you a little bit of context. And I think even those inclined to riot would not have been so upset with what was inevitably a not guilty verdict. And someone working at a news station should have known that. It was edited to throw fuel on ghetto rage, which they did. And it ended up creating $1 billion worth of damage in Los Angeles, nearly burning parts of the city to the ground. 54 people are dead. And I list the names of the people of KTLA who did it because the idea that they can just go about their lives and not worry about, maybe Reginald Denny's brother sneaking up behind them some night, or perhaps the child of a Korean who was killed in the LA riots sneaking up and taking vengeance on them. No, let's have their names.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.